Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. Today we're going to be going over the debate between Valkia and Fareeha, who are both GM Pharah players that have hit the #1 Pharah at some point in time. Both of which have different opinions on the recent Pharah changes on the PTR, so they go over why they think it's either a buff or a nerf, in what areas Pharah should have been buffed, which is the general consensus, and just how it will affect the meta, the winners and losers of this kind of thing, when it comes to Pharah, her counters, and who she synergizes with. You can find them both in the description below, their Twitches and such, but let's get started. So we'll start with Fareeha first. Just a brief introduction, but why do you think, at least to begin with, your opinion might have changed since, but why do you think that these Pharah changes on the PTR are buffs?
So I said buffs earlier in reference to a specific kind of playstyle, and that would be when you're fighting your enemies up close. However, I do believe that these changes are a nerf to her long-range play.
And that's like a main aspect then. Is that the thing that you agree with, Valkia? Because you say that these changes are just a flat-out nerf. There's no real like reprimand inside to it, I guess.
Yeah, like on paper, it looks to say, you can shoot faster, and you're like, oh, cool. Yeah, it sounds good. But in practice, at least, I always say, in my opinion, or the way that I play, because I can't speak for everybody, you're shooting, if you're up close shooting, any 200 HP hero is still 2 rockets. Now, you can get the rocket out faster, but people need to compensate for thinking time too. So if you literally just hold left click and just let the rockets fly out, it's actually very difficult to hit somebody because you don't spend time thinking about what they're going to do next. And with Pharah, the predictions come from you hit once and then you get very good at what they can do next, but you have to still see it visually before you make your next decision. So then it can actually put a bit of delay into shooting out rockets quicker.
So your point is basically that it boils down to you do less damage because of the splash, and you have a higher rate of fire, but you're effectively not using it because you need to prepare your shot much like a Widowmaker would, right? That she doesn't just constantly spam out shots all the time. You have to line it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Pharah's not, in the way that I play, a hero which I just spam with. Like, every rocket has a placement, and every rocket is put somewhere to hit. But the way I come to that conclusion takes longer than 0.75.
Yeah, he's got a really good point about that. See, like, the way I'm kind of thinking of it is there is definitely that thinking time. So it does make it a little bit harder when you're, say, in mid-range and trying to go for someone who's moving really erratically. But if you're in close-range combat, and for me personally, this is where I can get the most done, and it's what I kind of base my playstyle around. It's very, very divey. It's very, like, right on top of my enemy. Then it's a little bit easier to get those rockets off because you don't have to like adjust as much to be able to track and predict them.
Yeah. I do agree there, and I feel like after time with me playing and practicing, that's something that I would just say, it feels like it might not have been too great to begin with, but or in theory might not have looked to be too great because of this extra compensation, but then maybe it's something you can just naturally get used to because it's now available, so in time it might work out that way, for sure.
Yeah, totally.
It is a change, and for somebody who doesn't play at a level where, as high as we do, and they don't really think of it the same, for them it's not too much of a difference. I think it's more of a change when you really kind of recognize the way that you have to play it at this level and say, right, everything's kind of calculated, everything is, cold, calculated, and it has to be done in a certain order.
Yeah, I agree.
And if that order gets disrupted, then it's a big shake-up for anybody who, relies on to making sure that she has to be doing it this way, or it's going to be detrimental to the way that she gets played.
How do you think it would change your playstyle then, real quick? Because that's effectively what you're saying. It's going to change the flow and the momentum of how you play Pharah. How do you see yourself deferring away from that with these changes?
I feel like it's not so much that my playstyle has to change because, like say, nothing technically, it's not like she's had Concussive Blast taken away. It's more that you have to become more precise with your shots. So because there's less splash damage, if you miss a target, you're going to be doing less, which means less ult charge, less damage to them, more rockets to take them out. So you have to be more precise, which means you're spending more time making sure you're getting direct hits, which then in turn means you're not really taking advantage of the fire rate if you're becoming more kind of precise or taking more time on each shot you're taking. It does become natural. After so many hours, I can hit direct hits all day long, but it still takes us, time to think about where they're going, how far they're doing,
and
like how quickly
it's just
they're moving.
it's just doing the same thing as you did before, but it's just harder now, right? she struggles a lot in high elo with her survivability. Like that's her weakest point. It's not her damage. It's not her like time to kill. It's not any of that. It's how often she can die and how easily she can die. So I was hoping for something more along the lines of better mobility. Like my idea was always having her be able to earn a faster concussive cooldown, or like a second one if she hits enough direct hits, like a resource meter or something like that. And by doing that, you would reward the fire players who know how to hit their shots, who know how to time themselves, and know how to position themselves in a way where they will be safe until they can relocate again.
Yeah, I feel like they tried to balance it, and again for the kind of like the medium range Pharah players, this might be a really good change for them. But we talk from a higher level where, you know, every cooldown, every ability is something which is, you know, really timed to the way we use it. But like I say, imagine you're in the back line with your concussive blast. You still have to wait 9 seconds, which is a long time. You know, it's still a while before you can get yourself back out and back into your own team or somewhere else. It's not like it's instant. It's you have to wait. You use it, and sure, it's like 3 seconds less, but it just speeds things up slightly, but it's still in danger's path, really.
So I think both Valkia and we play her kind of as a flanker a lot of the time, not just a frontline DPS. And if you consider the other flankers on the roster of Overwatch, you'll notice one distinct thing, and that's that they have significantly better mobility in terms of just how short the cooldowns are, right? You have Tracer with her stored blinks and just like short cooldowns on them. You have Genji who can wall climb and dash resets. That's also a big thing for him. And the double jumping, right? And then you have what else? Doomfist, extremely short cooldowns. Sombra, extremely short cooldowns, and then you just have Pharah with this clunky 10-second jump jet that you can't really use as a getaway unless you have environment. And then you have and then her conk, which is 9 seconds now on PTR, but it's still really, really long compared to everything else.
I feel like Blizzard never planned for Pharah to be a flanker. Yeah, that's why she doesn't have any flanking, being able to play it to the point where you can survive and do it very effectively. So maybe from the beginning of design, it was never supposed to be a backline.
The issue with Pharah is that you have her being somewhat okay at the high tiers. They obviously want to make her better in the high tiers, but also make her a little bit worse from, I'd say, like plat below, where a good Pharah could be really oppressive.
Well, they say they want to make it better at higher tiers, but it's not, though. The thing is, they're like, oh yeah, high tier players get rewarded, but they don't. What they've done, it's not like they said, hey, you guys get more. It's more like, you guys have to be better, is what they said. Like, by taking the damage away, which is fine. You know, we can hit rockets all day long, but at the same time, it's not really a reward. It's just more pressure, more stress.
I think a tiny, a thing that could be a positive in all this is that with a new fire rate, say you're on a Widow and she isn't able to react, you're able to get that second direct on before she is able to grapple or to get out or call for healing. And with the new rate of fire, if you are able to harness it and you do catch your target unawares and they're predictable throughout the whole thing, you can potentially kill them through Ana healing, which is a big thing because you also have to factor in the Ana's reaction time, right? And if like say you're after McCree, who's in front of his Ana, and she isn't able to lock onto him or just realize that he's that low.
There's definitely gonna be scenarios where it'll be good as well.
Like I used the example, I always said that sort of the new Pharah feels like it's a Junkrat in the air almost now. Just a sort of spammy, more high rate of fire, but you do lose an element of that control and the splash damage that you can do. Do you feel, maybe inadvertently, that these changes came through because of stuff like Goat's comp? Like the whole tanky, big tank compositions running in and trying to out-sustain. Would you say that it's almost, not a direct response as such, but was influenced by that? Because it feels that Overwatch is either a very divey meta or a very tanky meta, and Pharah, because she's not really part of the dive meta, could be more involved in countering more tanks, I guess. What do you think, Fareeha? What do you think on that?
I think she's always been strong against tanks. She's always been extremely strong against goats, and she does less splash damage overall, so it means shooting into a target of like a group of enemies actually gains her less ult charge. Now, over time, if they still don't focus you down, if like D.Va doesn't defense matrix, if Ryan doesn't shield any of your shots, over time that'll like result in a higher overall DPS, just out of the sheer like fire rate, but but on the surface of things, it's like a very slight nerf to her ultimate charge. So it really doesn't change anything regarding her and her relationship with tanks. At least like a multi-tank.
One thing that I'd say then is, because we've kind of gone around here and said these changes do change a lot, but they also don't change much at all. That seems to be like the unfortunate sort of truth about these changes. What aspects can you maybe both agree on when it comes to how it will change the meta? Other heroes that are involved around Pharah that, you know, you said that she's good against tanks before. Like, maybe she's not going to be better. What other areas do you feel that she's going to be used more because she has a rate of fire buff?
Shield break.
Yeah, shield break. I agree.
It feels like the game is moving into this territory where they're trying to phase out tank players. They just want the tank players to uninstall. and I say that jokingly, but also kind of seriously, because if you look at everything else, like everything, all the changes in general, they kind of hurt tank players, like with the addition of Stormbow, Storm Arrow, and then you have Mercy's reduced healing, and then you have things like just damage buffs all across the board. It just like, it kind of makes it that DPS players are king and supports are second and tanks come last. And
well, I feel like from looking at, if you look at the chart of what hero has been played in season 12, the top 10 picked, there's only one DPS on Grandmaster. Everything else is tank. And also on Masters as well.
But that's a very specific scenario, I suppose. Like that's
yeah.
Goats
I think it's because of the increase in tanks in Goats. I think they want it, and then because of the weakness of all the other heroes around it, they wanted to make sure the others could be played as well. So I think with these changes, then yeah, it will be more. It would be harder for tank players overall.
And I wonder if they saw this. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, like, Reinhardt has enough problems. Are you trying to say that regardless of the buffs or nerfs debate on Pharah right now, the people that really should be upset are the Reinhardt mains out there and the main tank players?
Sounds like this is personal, Ryan.
I'm just trying to defend because I think they've had enough of a hard time. But like, I think you do.
Yeah, I feel like Reinhardt's just too vulnerable to too many things anyway. I think they should rework him in a way, or just make him not get crowd controlled or something,
or just fix the bugs he's got. And I mean, the tanks alone are always going to be weak, and like Reinhardt especially. But you're right. Like if you look at the pick rates, tanks are the most played all across the board, and maybe I reckon maybe they saw this and they thought maybe if we raise the DPS a little bit, it could help that problem. They did, yeah. But they also wanted to kind of balance it out, so they gave her less splash. I don't know.
To be honest, it's just not the change that they needed for Pharah. It was, I think the survivability was something which needed to be addressed, or could have been addressed, which wasn't. Because even with the concussive blast cooldown, like I said, it's you're still in a vulnerable situation way longer than you would like to be.
Exactly. I think they were much more concerned about making sure that whatever adjustments don't make her OP in lower ranks, even just like hurt her a little bit, and that instead of making sure that higher tier players could get more out of her, because like come on, that's like it's not what we needed. We didn't need her gun to change at all.
I just hope that I'll be able to adapt to the increased fire rate and find my own way of being able to make sure that I can utilize it and kind of pull through to the other side despite what I think about it. Because the way I see it is just less ult charge. I feel, like I say, I don't feel like it's not completely terrible, but overall for me, I feel like it is more of a nerf because I can't take as much advantage as I would like to have done. And I hope that my mindset changes with that. I hope, like I say, Ryan, let's do another video, and yeah, this time round, the changes have been, I feel like I've adapted to the changes, and I found that this actually works, and the fire rate really helps with this, more than it used to, and now I can take D.Va out mech, and that's all I want to do. If I can bully D.Va, then my life is complete. I'll just change my video title and call it a buff. I say, D.Va's dead, Pharah is now the hero that we all need.
I still think it's a buff in certain cases, and I'm just gonna have to, like Valkia said, we're just gonna have to play with it and see what we can make of it, because it's at the end of the day, the balance changes that do come through, they aren't really dictated by us individually, and we just kind of have to work with what we're given. And recognizing what this does make stronger, I think I'll try to maybe work that into my playstyle more and see what I can do. But at this point, I don't think it's really about these changes being either good or bad. It's just about the fact that they're really not what we needed as like high elo fire players, at least in solo queue. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I want to say, sure, great, it's all good, and you know, and to be fair, like, I'll just get on with it and play it. I just like to air my views about it. But you know, if I want more ult charge, for me at this level, it's okay. Everybody's behind a shield, and if they aren't behind a shield, then I'm probably in a situation where I'm probably gonna die.
Yep.
Or I dive a soldier and I shoot him twice and he's dead, the same as it was before. And if I'm gonna shoot something to get more ult charge with the rate of fire, I've got to find an unshielded tank that's not gonna disappear or hide away, and be able to shoot him 6 times before he does anything different, which is actually quite difficult to do. Zarya normally has bubble ready. It's really Roadhog and Orisa this is for. She has no shields, and if Roadhog's on his own, it's the only real scenario I can really see.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing with shields is like, it is pretty big because with Pharah, like I'm sure this is part of your playstyle too. Like what I usually do is I have this poke face where I'm somewhere safe myself and I'm close to cover and I'm decently far away, and I just try to pressure out certain aspects of their comp. Maybe it's the shields, maybe it's the healer's cooldowns, and as soon as maybe I see Ana's nade, then I'll move in closer, go for the dive, and it's all about pressuring them so that they invest their resources in just trying to stay alive, and then you can capitalize on that. And I think that might help, but I don't know. We really have to just see.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, burning shields is always something that, you know, I've done, and then I'll make the decision based on what we have on the team. If there's nobody else that can burn the shield down, then I'll stay with the team behind my own shield, making sure I can take that down. Or then I'll say, right guys, I'm about to go into the back line, get ready to move in, and then coordinate the attack. That once their attention, because a lot of their team, they'll just turn around, put their attention on, you know, their healers are going down, and then the whole team can capitalize on that. So maybe there's some hidden aspect that I'm not thinking about with the changes that I can take advantage of while I'm going into the back line to do that. So I am kind of excited. I don't want to be completely like, you know, this is terrible, because I feel like on one hand it could be, on the other hand it could actually be really good. So I'm kind of open-minded about it. I still love Bay. Bay is still mine.
So what kind of final thoughts do you want to go over just towards the end of this video? Where does this take Pharah, I suppose?
I personally think it was a move in the right direction. With like they had the right thing in their hearts, but their execution of it was a little bit off. I think they're gonna have to just see how this goes. Maybe more changes are in store for her. I would hope so, but yeah, we'll just have to see.
So my closing thoughts for Pharah's changes are that I think it's a kind of time will tell kind of scenario where maybe there aren't some things, or maybe something I've commented on which I need to put into actual actions to find out if it's gonna be bad or good the way that I say it. A lot of it's kind of theory. Hopefully it can be proven wrong. But I feel like she can still be very powerful, and that she can still be cause as much of a problem for the enemy team as she can do right now.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we just want her to be more self-sufficient, and I think we just want her to be in a good place where we won't be seen as like a throw pick in higher elos, which is sometimes the case at the moment. Like some people will see her as a throw pick. It's like you don't have a mercy. You're just dying every fight or whatever like that. It's just like.
Hopefully the faster fire rate will be able to change a few things in that direction, and I hope that it just doesn't kind of not kill her off, but I hope there isn't like a big thing that really sticks out when you're playing after the patch has gone through and saying, okay, this is actually way harder now.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. You can find all of the details of everybody involved in the description below. I do suggest you check them out. I'd keep up to date with what they think of the changes when they hit live, if they hit live. But thanks for watching. Hopefully see you guys around. Take care. We'll see you next time.